To boost the citizens' participation in upcoming council meetings and different residence committees, we want you to get familiar with the new council, their past work, and future priorities. We have reached out to the entire council for interviews, and some of them have agreed to talk to us. Here are our two interviews with Ward 1 Councillor Clare Riepma and Ward 2 Councillor Craig Nixon. Good to see you.
Yes, it's good to be seen, as they say.
Yeah. Thank you for your time.
No problem at all.
Briefly talk about your background, professional background, and how long have you been the councillor?
Yeah, I'm a civil engineer, and I have a master's degree in environmental studies. And most of my life, I have worked as a city planner. I have my own consulting company, and I've had that for the last 30 years. I am the Ward 1 councillor, and I am now going to start my second term. So I've been the ward councillor for 4 years.
So in terms of your achievements in the last council, what would you say were your focus area, and what of some of the things that have been achieved?
Yeah, I mean, in the big picture, I think the council did a lot of work in COVID. Searching for ways to support our businesses and our residents as they were going through that. We brought in a whole series of budgets that were had very low increases in them. I don't know that we can do that forever, but we've certainly tried hard over the past number of years. We also have been busy approving development. So much so that we have about 19,000 units in the pipeline somewhere in various stages of approval. So I think that is moving forward in terms of creating enough housing for people that want to live in Barrie. I think a couple of other things that we've been involved in is more enforcement of our property standards bylaw, especially in some areas of the city where it's a problem. We've increased our enforcement presence there. And the other thing that Mayor Lehman did, and I thought worked out really well, is that we had 3 task forces. One was on the market precinct, one was on affordable housing, and one was on a performing arts center. And all 3 of those task forces reported, and things are flowing out of those task forces this year, and I'm sure that we will see more in coming years. So I think those are all really good initiatives that we've started, and hopefully we will be able to move those forward in the next council as well.
Yeah, that's great. So each ward has its own challenges, its own problems. I was talking to Craig Nixon of new councillor of Ward 2, and Ward 2 is much of a downtown. There are a lot of businesses. So what would you say were the problems of Ward 1, and if any progress made in addressing those problems?
Yeah, for sure. Ward 1 is one of the oldest parts of the city, and our roads and sewers are the oldest. And as a result, some of our roads are really getting bad. We have done a lot of reconstruction work on Duckworth and in the Codrington area. But those projects have not been finished. So we now have a list of projects that we're going to tackle. We've got them kind of in a lineup. So we're going to finish Duckworth next summer. And Grove, we're going to start taking it apart and fixing it next summer. And then we have other streets that we're going to be working on, Puget and Blake and those. So that I think is both an accomplishment of what we did in the past, and also we're going to carry that on because we really need a road reconstruction program here in Ward 1. The other issue that we have been dealing with a lot has been the property standards issue, especially in the sort of near college area. And we have instructed our staff to get more enforcement officers and to enforce the bylaw more proactively. I haven't seen a lot of results on that yet. I think it might be a little early, but we're going to be monitoring that and hopefully helping staff to do that job better, so that we can turn some of those neighborhoods around, because there are some serious property standards issues there. And then I think, you know, there's always more work to be done downtown. Excuse me. We've done a lot, but I think, you know, the BIA still needs a lot of support and encouragement to improve or enhance the programming that's down there and support their businesses. I think that the downtown is the heart of the city, and if we can make it improve it, I think the whole city benefits, and certainly our downtown will as well. And then, yeah, I think we have to look at geared to income housing. That's a big piece that we need to deal with, because yeah, we have people that do not and have struggled to find accommodation in Barrie, and so we need to look at how we do that. You know, the city is not the social services operator; it's the county. But I think we can work with the county to try to get that done, get more done there.
Yeah, and you mentioned about 19,000 houses are in the pipeline, and then this issue came up a lot in the last council. Was many developers, they are getting their plan approved, but in many cases they are not building. Sometimes they are waiting because the prices are going down, or even their cost is going down. So there was some discussion that how to get these units from being approved to being built, so the housing shortage can be can be reduced. So any plans, like how you plan to achieve this in the upcoming council?
Well, you're right about that, and the problem is that the city has no jurisdiction to force someone to build. And first of all, we have to recognize that building permits are higher now than they've ever been. So there are housing units coming on the market, and they're being built. So to some extent, we are being successful. But there are other projects that are, sort of sitting around and not happening, and they don't have they're stalled for whatever reason. It could be financing, could be who knows. Probably every one of those is unique. But yeah, if the province would give us some authority to make these things happen, I would certainly accept that. Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the issues came up during the last council, and as we see, we are already in winter. There's housing affordability crisis. There's homelessness crisis, and there is mental drug crisis due to mostly due to mental health issues. So in terms of immediate addressing the homelessness issue, in terms of providing them whatever help they need, providing them the shelters in winter. So any plans, any Any ideas how that can be immediately done?
Yeah. Actually, again, that's a county
Yeah.
question, and we should ask the county that question. However, um, the city council did put $400,000. That was one of the last things they did, um, uh, and then the next day I spoke at county council and got support for the county to put in another 800,000, and so together we have $1.2 million, and some or all of that is going to be used to build 50 more shelter accommodations on Rose Street. And that was supposed to be done by November the 15th. But there's been delays, and so it's hoped that it will be open sometime in December now. So that gives us 50 more spaces for people. Will that do the job? I don't know, but it will help. I think we have to also start looking at the whole homeless addiction, mental health issue in a more of a health-related kind of lens. You know, I don't think we will ever arrest our way out of the drug problem. It is exceedingly complex. And so, you know, it's not going to be, you know, snap your fingers and it's solved. I think we need to, and the county is actually doing a study now to reevaluate our social service operation. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes out of that, because I think that there are opportunities to streamline it. I think there are gaps, and I think there's duplication, and I think we can probably do a lot better. I would like to see more geared to income housing or transitional housing, so that, you know, when we, you know, move people, when people are in a shelter, and clearly we need those, but if we can then start to move them into some form of traditional transitional housing, I think we're probably helping them, and that's really what we need to do, is to create a situation where these people recover their dignity and you know, can function, and their lives can function better than they are now.
You already talked about, you know, that an addiction should be looked at from the, you know, more from the health point of view. And you know, during the debate, you know, Mayor-elect now, Mayor Alex Natal, he mentioned about, you know, he said he's not going to interfere with, you know, the province, whatever the safe injection side, the final decision is with the provincials. He said, you know, he will not interfere with that, but he also did not, you know, wholeheartedly supported the safe injection side. So now, in terms of it seems that, you know, the next mayor, that there is a change in stance a little bit when it comes to how to deal with mental health and addiction issues. So what is your stance? And, you know, if it comes to you know, taking a stand opposite to the new mayor, and how would you deal with that?
I don't think that there is a big difference between the mayor and myself, Mayor-elect Null. I think that we both, I think we all around the table, frankly, struggle with this problem, and we would love to wrestle this one to the ground and get something that works for everyone. I have always been in support of a safe injection site, not because it's the ultimate answer, that it solves all the problems, far from it. But if it does contribute to saving lives and contribute to maybe helping some people, I'm very willing to put that on the table. I think that in general, we are, or the mental health and addictions area is starting to move to a health hub kind of approach where there's a front door, and once a person enters that front door, all of the services are available, from health to income to housing and counseling and rehab, all those kinds of things. And I think that's the kind of model that we should be looking for in Barrie. And I'm very hopeful that the social services review that the county is doing will result in something like that, because yeah, we have not resolved the problem by any means, and I think we probably need to look at it differently.
Yeah, and just last couple of, if you can make a quick comments on one on, how would you, participate in terms of, taking forward the environmental and climate change, dealing with the climate change initiatives?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if this council obviously will have to deal with climate change. We have people on staff that are wrestling with that question, and I'm sure that they're going to bring us reports and recommendations as to what we should be doing. We need to be mitigating the problems, and we need to be reducing our footprint. I have been very interested in moving people and the city away from using gas-powered lawnmowers and leaf blowers and those kinds of things, lawn equipment, and moving towards electric, battery-powered. First of all, they create a whole lot less noise, and they create a whole lot less pollution, and there's a much smaller carbon footprint. So again, we don't have the authority to mandate that, but if we can educate and encourage people to move in that direction, that would be a good thing. I think I would also, and I've asked our staff to give me some thoughts on this, is to take a look at our street tree program. We have thousands of street trees, but we have also a lot of areas where we could put more trees. And for not a lot of money, we could probably plant, I don't know, pick a number, but a large number of trees, which would help in climate change, would also beautify our city. And so I think, those kinds of ideas, I think, is where we need to start to think about, in addition to all the other big ideas. But let's start with something small.
No, that does make sense. And my last question is about the indigenous relationship. So in terms of the next council and going forward, how do you see that that process continuing?
Yeah, I think that it really does need to continue. I think that it's certainly with our Indigenous community, but also I think with all the other communities. And I think we need to think about, inclusion and equity matters all the way through. And one of the committees that I chaired last term made a recommendation to council, which council accepted, was that we should look at how do we make our committee structure, people that apply to make recommendations to the city, how do we make that more accessible to all of our communities? And actually, at our last heritage meeting, which I also chair, it was discussed there that we really need to involve our Indigenous community in that. I mean, I don't know how we have a heritage committee without Indigenous representation. You know, I mean, it makes no sense. So I think we need to move in that direction, and you know, I think it's important to kind of just keep that top of mind all the time. And it's for sure our Indigenous communities, but also, you know, we have people of all colors, creeds, races in the city, and we need to make room for them.
Thank you so much, Claire, for your time, and you know, thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
Bye.
Have a
nice
good
day.
day.
Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah, hi, my name is Craig Nixon. I'm the new Ward 2 Councillor for the City of Barrie. My background, I have been in Barrie for 42 years now. Operated my business right here in Ward 2 for most of those years, and it's nice to be living back in Barrie.
And just a bit about what kind of business you had.
We were in the trucking business for our own business for close to 35 years. Prior to that, I was transferred to Barrie back in 1980 to manage the local operation of one of the major regional trucking companies in Ontario. One of the benefits of being in the transportation or trucking business is that you are dealing with every type of business. Your customers are a wide range of manufacturers and service providers. And when we first started in business, Barrie was going through a large growth. We had the benefit of many large manufacturing businesses in Barrie when we go back to the 80s and 90s. Over about a decade, many of those moved away, closed down, and that left us with an even larger number of small startups. And many of those startups have grown quite well over the last few years, and but it's still, we need more business moving to Barrie, and we need to concentrate also on helping the businesses that are here now grow. I'd rather see existing businesses grow and hire people than new businesses move in.
What were the concerns or issues that you heard from people?
The issues that I ran into door to door varied a little bit depending on whereabouts in the ward you were. The issues in the north end, northeast end, closer to the hospital, were different than the people in the middle of the riding or in the downtown area. Obviously, you heard about roads, you heard about all the general common complaints. But the one issue that kept coming up, no matter where in the ward, and really anywhere in the city these days, is the homeless issue, and that was a common concern right through the ward.
What are going to be your priorities for next 4 years?
We have several priorities, but the one thing, as I say, that is common, throughout the ward and throughout the city is, we just have to get a handle on that. And my priority is getting to know the people who are managing these services. We need to get a better grip on what we are going to do along with the county, along with the province. To get this under control, because it's a serious and critical epidemic that is changing our whole city, as well as all cities in Ontario and Canada.
Do you have any solutions or any ideas in mind in terms of addressing the homelessness?
There is not one single answer. Obviously, if there was, it probably would have happened by now. But I think we do need to look at all and any new ideas, any new solutions, and we need to listen to those in the services that are frontline, that are working with this issue, and they're the ones that are dealing with it every day. They're the ones that have the answers, and we just need to work with them closer, and hopefully we can get this under control.
So did you get a chance to meet any of the frontline organizations during the campaign about what are they doing or what solutions they offer?
Yes, I was fortunate to meet and speak with several people from various different organizations and service groups, and I look forward to sitting down with the rest of them, very, very soon.
A few weeks back, I interviewed a woman who was living in a tent at Milligan's Park, who was homeless, and she got a number of tickets. She was evacuated, so that we see, as winter is approaching, homeless people are struggling. So any opinion in terms of how to address or how to deal with the homeless tents or camps that we see?
Yeah, we're more than aware that there are many people who are in tents and are even on nights when there is room in some of the shelters. There's people out there who, for whatever reason, feel safer out there on their own. As winter approaches, I mean, this is something we've got to get a handle on, and they're all over the city. It would be wonderful if we could designate one area where the services could, instead of going looking for them to help them, if there was one area that we could allow that, where it would make it a lot easier for the services to access them and protect them, because the way it is right now is just unacceptable for them, for their safety, and to be honest with you, it's unacceptable for many of the neighborhoods that they're in, and there's two very distinct sides to this situation, and we've got to work at something that's acceptable to both.
When I met people struggling with homelessness or mental health issues, and homelessness and mental health issues many times causes a drug addiction, in terms of coping with these issues. So in terms of solution, one of the things last council did was unanimously approving the safe injection site, which is with the provincial government to decide. So in terms of what would be your stance, or what would you do, or in terms of getting the site approved or helping in any other way people facing drug addiction?
No, you're absolutely correct. The 80% of the people who are on the street are suffering from mental health issues, and a huge number of those are also suffering from addiction issues, and some people start with the mental health issue, and it kind of evolves into an addiction issue, and sometimes it goes the other way. As far as the site, as you know, Barrie Council approved it. In the last council, the federal government has approved it, and right now we're waiting still for the final approval from the Ministry of Health. Hopefully we will have their response in the near future. And once we have that, then we'll take it to the next level.
I live in Ward 2, and it's very unique in terms of you have a lot of businesses getting the revenues, getting the taxes, from the corporations that come, and at the same time, because it's downtown, so we also see the issue with the homelessness.
Right.
They also think they can get a support whatever they can, because there are more people in the downtown. So in terms of balancing both, balancing helping the businesses, getting more revenue, at the same time not just throwing the homelessness out of the downtown. So how do you plan to manage the balance both aspects? Because this is very unique, I think, to the Ward 2 compared to any other wards in Barrie.
Yeah, no question. Ward 2 has the distinction of having our waterfront downtown, in the ward.
Yeah.
It's a very important part of the ward, and also a very important, part of the city in general. And two issues. I've always felt that. That the city has a responsibility to provide a safe environment and a clean environment for our downtown businesses, and after that, it's up to the downtown businesses. We can help them bring customers in. It's up to them to keep them coming back. There's a feeling among many people. One of the things I heard, there's a lot of people that seem to stay away from the downtown area because they have this perception of it being unsafe. In reality, the crime rate and the safety rate downtown is no different than anywhere else in the city. However, I honestly believe that there is a greater number of incidents that are not reported downtown, which I think throw those statistics a little out of whack. I think, I think in many cases the issues go unreported. Therefore, the statistics don't show it. If you included all those stats, then I honestly believe we would have a higher number. So we need I believe we need a better presence. I'm not talking about an army, a police presence, other than the fact that I think that it would do two things. It would quell that fear of people thinking that it's unsafe, but also to protect the most vulnerable who are living down there on the street, and many of these instances involve them. And I think a stronger presence would also protect them as well, and that's important. We have to kind of do both things at once in order to make it work, and it's a big job. But with the help of the services, with the help of the downtown business owners and the BIA, it's more than possible.
Yes, somebody like me who is not white, when I specifically see police cruising in a big vehicle or a lot of police present, that honestly makes me a little bit nervous. Mm-hmm. Because I have been, I almost every night I come for a walk in downtown, and I see a lot of homeless people mm-hmm. sitting around, and never once until now, last 1 year I had any bad experience, or nobody shouted at me or tried to threaten me. So in terms of that, but at the same time, as I said, when I see a lot of police present, that makes me nervous as well.
I'm sad to hear that. It shouldn't. And again, I'm not talking about cruisers constantly passing. It'd be nice if we could see more officers on foot patrol and getting to know people, getting to trust people, and vice versa. And I just think that's important, not just from a standpoint of the consumers who are spending money downtown, but again, the people that live there. And I think that once they back in the old days, they walked the beat and in a neighborhood, and the first thing that happens is that a rapport gets built between the people there and the police department, and I think that's important. That seems to have gone away everywhere else, and it's when people are out and they get to meet people, they talk to people, communication becomes so much easier. There's a trust gets built. The biggest change in our society probably in the last 50 years, and I noticed while door knocking, is that there was a time when every evening people would sit on their front porch. And when they sat on their front porch, they got to know their neighbors. When they sat on their front porch and you had an officer walking the beat, they got to know them by name. Kids get to know them. There's a trust. And somewhere along the line, we all decided that we didn't want to sit on our front porches anymore. We wanted to sit in our backyards. We were fenced. And that, to me, is a big change in society, and there's been some effects. And that's one of them.
If you see across Ontario in this municipal election, the participation was not so great. Yeah. Even for those mayoral seats or even those council seats, mm-hmm. for which there was incumbent was not running. Right. So in terms of there are various citizenship committees in Barrie, and my notice in the last council, there wasn't so much diversity or so much participation from the residents. So in terms of, because ultimately if there is less participation, it shows a lot of lack of interest or trust from the people in the democracy. So what would you say to those people in terms of participating more, or what would you do in terms of having more citizen participation, engagement, and especially from diverse community?
I would ask and encourage everyone from any diverse group, organization, race, religion, whatever, to get involved, and that's the only way you get other people involved. And yeah, I agree. When you see voter turnout at 30%, 70% of the people couldn't bother coming out. Now, I don't know how easier we can make it. We had online, we had telephone voting, we still had in person. There's apathy, and for whatever reason, we need to. We need to bring those numbers up, and it's the same in provincial elections. The numbers are low, and federal, and people need to get involved. And if they don't, then you just have a small number of people making decisions, and everyone needs to get involved.
One more question about the indigenous community. We have Barrie Native Friendship Center also in Ward 2, right on the Bayfield Street. So in terms of your past interaction, or what do you think needs to be done in terms of furthering the reconciliation, or working with indigenous community which has disproportionately more affected by homelessness or other crises?
To be honest with you, I have not been in yet. I plan on it. It's at the top of the list to get in and meet the people who run that organization, a great organization, and get a better idea about what we can do. I think we've made some great strides in the last few years, and we need to keep it going.
Thank you.
Thank you.